Hello, and thanks for watching this video. In this video we are going to go ahead and be able to look up the old data from a data validation when we drop this. If we choose 1002, it's going to bring all the data from 1002. If we choose 1001, it's going to bring that up. Alright, first off, we have our data here from our last video. We're going to need a unique count of all of the data, or of all of the invoice numbers. Alright, to do so, I actually got this from Mike Gerben because I learned it on his book. It's an amazing book. I definitely recommend you buy it, but we would like to use the frequency function. Alright, and we basically can just put this here. Oops. And now what that's going to do, it's going to look and say there are two numbers 1002. There's one 1001. If you highlight it, you can push F9 and it will show you that. I cannot because it will actually make my recording stop. But so the next step is we want to convert it all to trues and falses. So we're saying if it's greater than 0, it will turn them to trues and falses. Again, you can push F9 and it will give you a list of the above. So then we need to count those, and we can do that with sum product. And we have to put the double negative in front of it. That is that will convert them to ones and zeros, and the trues and falses. We do have to put the frequency in brackets, or I'm sorry, or it will calculate that first. Alright, so we push that, it gives us our unique count. Let's do a little format painting. Alright. Alright, so the next step, let's go ahead and say unique numbers, or unique invoices. Alright, I'm only going to do 10 because, well, I don't have that many invoices. So let's go. I'm going to add some conditional formatting. And that's Alt OD, that'll bring that up. Tab, tab, tab. Use formula. That's a bit too dark. Let's make it a little bit lighter. That's a bit better. Still not the exact same color. You guys can play with it and get the exact color. For now, I'm not going to worry with it. So here, this is an array formula. It will have to be entered with Control Shift Enter. But let's start it out. So equals, we want to index and this. Okay. Next, we need to get the row number. So I'm going to use aggregate. If you have 2007 or before, you will have to use the small if function. But right now, I'm going to use aggregate because I like it better. All right. So 15 is the small function. You can scroll down and see that. 6 will say ignore errors, which is what we definitely want. Alright, now we want to say row. Now this is going to give us this is going to give us the relative row number, and that's row minus, or all of the rows minus the start row, which when you use a table I always put it right next to, I choose the cell right next to the very start of it, that way it doesn't give me grief. Alright, plus 1. So that right there, if you hit F9, it'll give you 1, 2, 3, and it'll show because we only have 3 records. But I can't do so, again, because it will stop the recording. So now you put under a divide sign, and this is where we put our conditions. So basically, I want to go back. Alright, I want to go back here, and I want to basically just copy this, my frequency function, from my unique count, because I'm going to use that here. Alright, now we need to say our row number, rows equals, and I also got this formula from Mike Gervin because he's amazing. Alright, and that will give me a dynamic counting tool. So we go ahead and choose that. That automatically brings 1 up. Uh-oh, we have reference errors. I wonder why we have reference errors. Well, that's a good question. Alright, 1 second and I'll figure it out and I'll be back. Okay, my apologies. What it was I had the syntax wrong, and I had an extra one of the inside parentheses there. So but now we have number errors we have to deal with. We don't like the looks of that, so let's go ahead and just basically say if, and we can copy this, our counter, is greater than this, and we want to lock that. Then we want to say, oops, a null text string, and add another parenthesis at the end. Let's go ahead and drag it down, and that fixes that. Okay, so now that we have that, what we want to do, we want to go ahead and have a data validation right here that will allow that. So what we want to do, I build this in in a cell first, just because it's a little easier. So we say this. Right now we're building a dynamic range. Okay, and now we say index. You can use offset as well, but index isn't volatile. So you can use the whole thing, but I personally just usually go as farther than I'll ever need. We do want to make sure we lock all our references in all directions, or that'll cause us problems. Alright, and then our amount of rows is our unique count, and that will give us what we're looking for as far as the range. Let's copy that. Let's go ahead and Control Enter. It's going to give us a value error. We do understand that. Let's go ahead and push Control F3. I have invoice numbers in here already. It's referenced because I deleted it. So edit and paste our formula that we just created into the refers to line. Click on it. Okay, so now when we push Control F3, our numbers should be there. Yeah, and it's correct. Okay, so if you saw the dancing curly brackets around it, that's why. Now right here we want to say Alt-DL and make that invoice numbers. Okay, yes, we want it. So what's going on here? Push F3, invoice numbers. Okay. Now that's going to give us our invoice numbers where we can choose 1 or choose 2. We also want to go to error alert and turn this off. Normally it says yes, or that will give us problems later down the road. But that's important. You don't need to know that. You just need to know that that is off. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to our Visual Basic Editor. Alt F11 brings this up. And in our module, what we want to do, we want to go ahead and say, what is it we want to do? Alright, we want to say, we want to declare both of these. Oh, sorry, wrong module. In our module, we want to declare these. We're going to create a new procedure. It's going to be a sub called Lookup old invoice. You can call it whatever you want. That's just what I decided to call it. I copied our worksheets from earlier. Alright, now we need to declare a few other things. We need to declare basically everything we have here. So I just copied and pasted that. You can, you don't have to, whatever you want. But so basically we want to say our invoice number, right? Our invoice number is equal to and we're going to call it invoice dot range G7. Okay, and now we want to say we want to look up our customer. So I'm going to use customer name equals application dot worksheet function dot VLOOKUP and invoice number. Now here I'm going to use a space underscore to go to the next line, just because well, it's easier to read, so you don't have to scroll way over here and keep reading if later on. But let's go ahead and say now our argument number 2 is our range. So our range is actually called table 3. But let's yeah, table 3. I think that'll work. Well, let's just use the actual named range and go ahead and call it well, I think table 3 will work. It may not. We may have to actually use a named range, but so let's go ahead and say table or invoice or data dot range table 3. argument number 3 is which argument our customer is number 2, and choose 0 for exact match. Okay, now I want to go ahead and just test that right now. So our invoice number is 02 and it should show John Smith. Alright, let's find out who it shows. And we're going to say debug. And just simply run it. And it says John Smith, so it is correct. Alright, that's great. That's perfect. Alright. Let's go ahead and get our next one. Our date. And basically do the same exact formula. Change this to 5. This is the column reference in case you didn't know. It works exactly the same as VLOOKUP does in Excel. Alright. Tab this in a little bit so we know that it's associated with that. Alright, so now we want to do a for statement. So, but let's actually say product amount. So if we use product amount, we're going to change that to, well, product amount is probably correct. Okay, so product amount I'm using COUNTIF, and our argument as range, we say data dot range table three. We need to go to a new line, which is unfortunate there. Need to use our square brackets, close parentheses. Alright, and now we want to say invoice number. Alright, so that does that. Alright, well, because we went to a new line, it's given us grief. So let's go back to the other one and we'll add it in just a second to the new one. Alright, so and we want this to be equal to invoice number. Okay, now that will return, and let's say debug, make sure it's right. And that's because we need it to be equal. Alright, it says 0. Well, I wonder, why does it say 0? So it is not correct. Alright, so we need to step through it And it will not let me step through with my debugger as well, so that's gonna normally I would be pushing F8 here, but for some reason I wonder if I can change some of this settings. Alright, so our invoice number is 1002, which that's correct. Correct. Well, there is another way to do this. I really would like to get this to work. Alright, I'm going to put the video on pause and figure out why. Nope. Okay, sorry for that. I figured out what the problem was here. What it was that the table reference that we were speaking of, in this one, it didn't like it very well. So I created a named range exactly the same as we did earlier. Basically highlighted the area, pushed Control-Shift-3. It will update because it's in a table automatically, or it'll be dynamic because of that. And that did that. So in the range part, we just typed range and the name of it, invoice_number. And then we type number and it does work. So we run it and it says 2, which is correct. Alright. Getting back to what we were at, I apologize for the delay. The next thing we need to do, we need to add a loop. So let's add a note here that says loop to add info to invoice. Alright. For x equals we need to find a start number as well. So we need to add a start number as an integer. Okay. So in the worksheet function match, you can use the first argument is what you're looking for. So it's invoice number. The second one is the array or the range that you're going for. So let's use range. And if you want exact or if you want approximate, I'm going to use exact match. That will finish us out there. So let's debug and make sure that's correct. It should be, and we want to say +1. So it should say column number 2. And F5 to run. Did not work because I don't know how to spell debug. and it says 3, which is correct, which is the first one. Okay, so let's go to Alt Tab. Alright, so now we say for x equals start number to product amount plus 1, because that's what we had to do to get the correct start number, so we need to add 1 to product amount. Alright, so now we need to get our row here. So our row number, let's pull this over a little bit so we can see it. Our row number always starts on 13. Actually, we need to pull that just outside the loop here. And it should be I row number. Okay, so now we want to increment accordingly. So I row number equals I row number plus 1. Alright, so now we need to find our product number. Actually, we can just say invoice dot sales I row number equals I row number dot column is B, so it needs to be 2, and this equals data dot cells x comma, I believe it is 1. No, that's the invoice number, is 2. That will give us the correct one. Alright, now the quantity is basically the exact same thing, except this is 5 and this is 3. Okay, so that will fill all that. Now up here we need to say alright, invoice dot range B6, no, B8, I'm sorry, equals customer. Okay, and this right here equals the correct date. So basically the same thing. And it's G8. Alright, so now that's gonna delete our formula of the date today. So let's just go ahead and say when they click new invoice, we're going to have to go back up here to add invoice, and when they click invoice, so we're going to have to invoices here. Now, when it clears it, let's update our notes. Sorry for the delay. So now when they click new invoice, it will automatically put the date as well in there. Alright, now let's go ahead and, but since we're adding that, we're going to have to type something, application, and this is your clear, of course, application dot enable events equals false. Application dot enable events, and you want to turn it back on, and that's so the program doesn't get and it's stuck in a loop and it crash on you. So now we have this. Let's go ahead and run it. So we change this. We're going to change it to 2, and let's go ahead and hit F5 to run. It should automatically populate. Does not. Should have 2 items, right? It doesn't. Why doesn't it? Alright, so let's figure this out. So we need to say alright, normally I would use F8 and debug through this. I'm going to hit pause and debug, and I'll... Okay, so I figured out what the problem was, and it was apparently my math. My apologies on that. So basically we need to say 4x equals start number to start number plus product number minus 1. Okay, that will actually give us the what we're needing as far as the row numbers. Apparently also I had said column 2 and column 3 on the data cells, but that was looking at the customer and the product, which is not correct. So I apologize for that. So we are actually correct now. We hit F5 to run it and it works. So we change this to 1 and we hit F5. But it doesn't work. It's product 2, but it's not deleting this. So what we need to do is first, alright, basically just copy this before we do any of it. We need to clear out our old so now it'll work. It works. Alright, so now we change it to 2 and we hit F5 to run and it works. Alright, so now the question is, how do we get this to happen when we change this? And so what we do, let's go to our sheet, and we want to add a worksheet function, or I'm sorry, a worksheet event. Actually go here and add a worksheet event. It automatically uses selection change. That is not the one we want. What we want to use is change. So let's delete selection change. Alright, and now we just want to simply say call, and I forget what I called it. Look up old invoices. So and that will but we want to say if target dot range equals me dot range G7. Then and we say end if. Alright, and that should get it. So now when we change to 2000 compile error. Target.address. My apologies. Equals me.range address. And then we say F5 to run, it changes and changes here. So we hit a new invoice and it gives us number 3. So then we can type our customer name in. It's Jane Doe and she has product number 5, product number 8, and she has 10 of both of them. She also has product 12. And she has 5 of that. Okay. So that tells us she owes us $91.11. She paid. Great. We need to say update. So I think we have to hit new invoice. Yep. So we got a bit of a bug that I gotta change here, but we're gonna hit new invoice. That does that. Let's go back and look up Jane's number 2003, or I'm sorry, 1003. It brings it up. Okay, but now see, when we hit new invoice on this, it actually saves the data and gives us the wrong information on the next time we look it up. So what we need to do, we need to actually just delete these so it's correct. Which is fine. And what we need to do, we need to add another button. And call it properties CB add order. The caption is close order, or confirm order. Alright, so we do not want to print it. Alright, sorry for the long video here, guys. So let's go back to our module and alright, so we need to take this out. Put it on confirm order. So now when they confirm the order, it will automatically add it. If they hit new invoice, gotta get out of design mode. If they hit new invoice, it does that, puts that in there. Okay, we need to change that too, because see, it'll only go to the next one. Couple bugs here, sorry guys. Okay, so we need to say data. Here we say application dot worksheet function dot max, and we say range. That will give us the correct one. So now when we say new invoice, it automatically does that. But hey, we don't want to, you know, we only want to look up number 1, we want to look up number 2, look up number 1, and we new invoice, it'll give us the correct one. Okay, sorry for the confusion there, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.